Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this Garcia Mitchell 307. This is a right-handed reel. Mine's from the right-hand side. And the 306 is on the left-hand side. The 307 is on the right-hand side. And they are not reversible. You cannot take the parts off of one and move them to the other. Okay? Well, some of them you can, but not much of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this one apart, service it. It's got some issues. One is that the bail, see how slow the bail is to come back? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to lubricate that. And we're going to start off with just a little WD-40. And we're going to put a little of that on the bail wire. And see if we can't free this up a little bit. Even if it does fix it though, I'm going to take it apart. I do not recommend taking these apart. And that's how I recommend you repair your bail if possible. See how all it needed was a little bit of lubricant. Now, WD-40 is not going to keep that moving free. WD-40 will free it up because it dissolves the old lubricants, but then it's going to dry up and it's going to go back to being like it was. So what you're going to need to do is add some oil to that. But we're going to take this all the way down because that's what we do here on Young Martin's Reels. But that's not what I recommend you do if you're servicing yours. Only if you absolutely have to. If lubricating that did not fix it, or if you're going to have to do a repaint, then by all means go ahead. This one also feels a little chunky in the gears. I'm hoping that that's just due to dried grease in there. We're going to find out. All right, we're going to start off by taking the spool off. And yeah, it's pretty dirty inside. Now, if you look down inside here, you don't see what you normally see inside spinning reels, which is a, ooh, this one's chewed up a bit. This is the nut for removing this rotor. Somebody has really chewed this thing up pretty bad. I happen to have a screwdriver that fits that. And what it is, it's the same size as a nickel. And the thing was designed to put a nickel into and turn it to unscrew it out of there. But I took a screwdriver and I adjusted the end of it using a grinder to match the curve on a nickel so that it will fit right into there. And I went to a yard sale and picked this thing up. I picked the screwdriver up for $1 so that I could modify it, and I'm not tearing up a good screwdriver. If you can look at it, it's a worn, beat up old screwdriver. So modifying it really doesn't hurt much, especially if I'm going to run into things. It also fits Zebco reels and several others. So let's see, got that off, that unscrewed out of there. But if you look, you can see how badly chewed up that slot is. Yeah, somebody's used regular screwdrivers on it. You want to use a nickel or take yourself a screwdriver and adjust it to fit that. You do not want to have to do that to it. And okay, now with that done, we should be able to remove the rotor. Be careful as you remove the rotor. If you look right here, you're going to see that there is a slot, and in that slot is a little keyway. Well, normally when you're dealing with a keyway, you're dealing with a long block about yay long, you know, the square. That is not what's in these. These have a little piece that's keyed to go with a little pin that fits into the pinion gear shaft to lock this to it. So let's be careful we don't lose that. Okay, we're going to slide the rotor up and off, and that looks pretty good underneath. Okay, and there is our little keyway. See it? Right there. And I'm going to take and carefully remove that keyway. It just pulls up out of the hole like that. And this thing is so tiny that it's really easy to lose. So in preparation for working on this, I went and got out a Ziploc bag that I have. And you don't have to have one this small. You can use a regular Ziploc bag. But I've put it into there, and now I've got it so that when I go to put it back in, I'll be able to find it. I know where it's at. Okay, we're going to set that off to the side. And let's see where we are next. All right, next is going to be this pin block right here. As a matter of fact, I could actually put that pin block in with the other one. Grab a hold of that, and you want to kind of gently wiggle it out. There we go. It's bigger, so it's a lot harder to lose. But if you want, you could put it in the Ziploc bag with the other part, with the pin. Now there's two parts in that Ziploc bag. Okay. With that done, it's now time to come over here and use our special screwdriver or our nickel again. And I'm going to back this out now. I don't think you need to be up that close to see what I'm doing for this, but I don't want to end up out of range for the frame. And we're going to remove this screw. Okay. And it's got some old grease. Looks like it's been oiled. It looks more like oil in it than grease. All right. Now we've got a block right here. This block holds the crosswind block to the axle shaft. With that done, we should be able to slide the axle shaft out, like so. Now we can remove the crosswind block, like this. Now we can take and remove the pinion out, and this does not have a bearing, it has a bushing. There's our bushing, and this one is in very good shape. The pinion appears to be good. We won't know for sure until we clean it good. With that out, we can now remove this gear assembly, and it is keyed to this arm, and it also appears to be in really good shape, just needs a little cleaning. And I made a little bit of a mistake there. I should have broke the handle free, but we can think the anti-reverse is going to hold it, I think, so we can go ahead and try to break it free. Maybe it's not going to hold it. There we go. It did hold. Yeah, should have broke that free before we got that far. Okay. That way you can hold the rotor while you unscrew it. Okay, then we have this gear which sits in the center. And it's got this little block on it for the crosswind block. And it's staked in so it doesn't come off. And now we should be able to take the main gear out by just pushing it forward. There we go. We've got a lot of old grease on the back. It is holding the anti-reverse. Okay. And we'll be able to clean all of that in place. We won't remove any of that. That'll all clean in place, but you'll also be able to clearly see how the spring fits. And we're going to take and flip this lever, though, this way to move that gear, anti-reverse backwards to get it off of the gear, like so. All right. Okay. We got a few parts left to disassemble. We're going to go ahead and take the spool apart. We'll unscrew the cap off the top. Pull out the tensioner, and we're going to have to clean that rust off of the tensioner. do not believe it has a, yes it does. It's got a separate drag washer. It goes in with the upper part, with the larger portion sticking out. And then this comes out like so. And someone, in order to save line, has wrapped the center of this with tape. And as the years have gone on, that tape has managed to squish down as it's been crushed. So it makes it look like this is covered in line, but it isn't. This is old tape that's been squished down. And I'm going to see if I can get that cut out of there. And this has been greased. It does not appear that that clicker would work at this time. Let's take a look. It looks like it's missing the clicker. It still clicks, but it's not hitting it very well. I'm going to adjust the spring in just slightly, like so. Now it's much louder. Okay, I'm going to clean all that old grease out. It does not need all that grease in there. I'll leave the spring in place, although it can be removed for cleaning. Now, you would think we're done, but we're not, because this is YoungMartin'sReels, and that's just what we do here. And this part here, I'm going to tell everybody, do not take this apart. This is just, I'm only taking this apart because there's going to be somebody out there who has removed theirs and it's starting to stick up again. Remember how I told you WD-40 dries up? It does. So it's no longer already as free as it was. And we're going to take this apart. First thing we're going to do is check to see if the bell wire is bent. So we're going to remove the non-spring side of this first. And see what happens. Okay, the spring is out. And no, the bell wire is not bent. It fits almost exactly where it belongs automatically. Okay, although it is just a hair off. We'll tweak it down just a little bit so that it naturally rests in the hole. Okay, and that could be enough to take it off, but I can feel that there's grit down inside here. Yeah, there's something gritty in here. So we're going to take this apart. Now what you can do is spray it with WD-40 and see there's a little hole. You can't hardly see it, but there is a little hole right here. What you can do is spray WD-40 in there and take compressed air and blow it into there, and it will free that up and hopefully get a lot of that oil and grease out of there. We're not going to do that because I'm going ahead and taking it apart to show you how it goes back together in case somebody has taken theirs apart and doesn't know how to get it there. Okay. Now my specialty screwdriver does not work on this screw, but we do have a larger screwdriver made for these. I took one and ground it down to give it a narrow bit so that it can fit into these narrower screws but have that large wide opening. So I have made a large selection of custom screwdrivers, and they're all just things that I picked up at yard sales and modified to fit with files and grinders. All right, now we're going to take the tension off. There we go. Don't want the spring to pop out. We just want it to come off. There we go. All right. Now this spring has a triple wind in it. In the event that I was making a spring, that's what I would do. I would make one that had 3 winds, and then at the end it would come back to this point. And one would go up and one would go off to the side. And the key, if you're making these, is to make sure that the wrap goes the proper direction. If this were on the opposite side and this one were on this side, then it would operate, then it would perform backwards from what it's supposed to do, and the spring would not last any time at all before it would break. Okay, this is going to take a little effort to get this one in. We'll go to put it back, but we will get it done. And you can't see it. This is very rough right here, is what I'm talking about. Okay, that's going to cause that to grind into this piece. So probably what I'm going to do, because there's sand and filth in there, and that's been grinding on that, which has caused it to be very rough on this facing, and it should be smooth. And what I think I'm going to do is, once I get this scrubbed up, I'm probably going to take a piece of 400 grit sandpaper and gently polish this just enough to make it smooth again, so that it will slide. And already just sliding my thumb over it has helped, but it needs to be better than that. All right, now we're going to go to the inside, and we've got a spring on the inside, and this spring, I'm keeping this way up big because it's kind of difficult to see in here. This spring hooks on this side right here, comes up, wraps around, and ends up on this wall over here. Okay, so we're going to have to put that back like that. And this is the one I found that was very difficult to do, because see this little piece here? It has to fit down through this hole. So you're having to fit this piece in with the spring on this side while this is going into this hole, while the spring wraps around it, while you put this screw in. That's why I'm telling you, do not take this out. It is not fun to put back. I've done it. It can be done, and I will show you, but I'm going to tell you, do not do it. See, it's not even that fun just to get it worked up out of the hole. And here's our spring. All right. And I'm going to take all of these parts and clean them up. When I come back, we're going to be ready to reassemble. We're going to start off with this. All right, I'm back now, and we're ready to start reassembling. We're going to start off by attempting to put this rotor back together. And okay, I've decided to see if I can cheat the system and see if I can put a rubber band on this, get it in place, and then take the rubber band off. All right, what I've done is set the spring basically the way it would sit inside there. And now we're going to put it in. I did not use this last time. I used dexterity last time, and it's not working on film today, so we're going to see if we can do it another way. There we go. Get the spring over and out from underneath it here. And we're going to use my good screwdriver here. Lock the screw on and maneuver this around to where it's in place. And see if we can't get the screw started. Okay, got it started. All right. Now I'm not going to screw this all the way down because I think the spring is pinched underneath here at the moment. But now I can go ahead and cut this rubber band out of here. And then just remove all the little pieces of rubber band. And put our screw down. And make sure that it moves freely, and it does. Okay. Well, I'd prefer to use dexterity to put that in, but I have a limited supply of time today. So we used rubber band technique and it did work just fine. Okay, so that's in there and it's freely moving. We're gonna come back and add oil to it. And we're gonna add oil at this side over here where it pivots, because this piece here moves. Okay. That's what that does right there. That's your trip for your bail release. Now, we're going to come back and see if we can install the spring. Okay, the spring has two bent parts on it. We're going to try to blow this up just a little bit. Not too much, because I do want to try to keep it in frame. And but it's got one tab that bends over to the side and one that comes straight up. And this spring has been bent before by somebody putting it in like this, and that means it's going to be a difficult spring to install, and that may be why it was grinding the way it was. All right, so we're going to set that in place right there, and now we need to get this piece in, and it's going to lock there. Okay, so we're going to put it in this way. We want it to be all the way over here. Like that. There we go. Okay, we're going to bring this around like so. One more time, get it to skip past like that. Okay, now we still got tension on it. And let's get the screw back in. Wanting to hang on the shoulder. There it goes. Okay. Now we've got to get it to go past this arm, and hopefully the arm is far enough over, and it's not. Okay, so I'm going to take this one back out to get the bail spring set. And somebody will say, well, you don't have to do that. You can maneuver it, and I'd just as soon get this out of the way and do it the easy way. I don't want to damage this spring. This spring here, I can make one of these. These bail springs are a little harder to make. Okay, that's got that in position. Okay, let's go ahead and tighten the screw down. Okay, and it still moves freely. There's no binding in that whatsoever. Okay, that's perfect. All right, let's go ahead and put the screw in this other side right here, and it is sprung out just a little bit. So let's bring it in just a bit so it just is wanting to stay in the hole. That's what we need right there. Get this screw started. Oh, that moves beautifully. Now we're going to come back and use our rubber band trick one more time. Because I have bags and bags and bags of rubber bands that need to be used up. They're starting to go bad. Okay, flip this over here, put that hook, that spring right where it belongs, right there, and then pull this down. There we go. That'll hold that in place. Now let's set it back in where it's going to fit, like so. Get the spring to go over the stud that it fits on. Make sure that we're in the hole back here. And we can probably not have to fight all this by going ahead, but that is not in there yet. It's in the hole now. Okay, we've got the spring and everything. We could go ahead. I'd really like to have the screw started in the hole though. Or we could probably go back and just cut the rubber band since it's in position right now. But let's at least get the screw started in the hole before we do that. Okay, we'll cut our rubber band out again. Being careful that you don't cut the spring. Okay, all the rubber band pieces are out. The part is back where it belongs. Let's go ahead and put the screw in the rest of the way. And it's hanging on the shoulder. If you tighten it down and the whole thing jams up, you know you don't have it in there properly. There we go. Put our oil in once again. There we go. And trip our bail. What do you think? Works like a brand new one, doesn't it? I think we got a little bit of dirt left down in here. Let's see if we can get that out. Okay. All right, that has the rotor back together. Let's start working on the rest of it. Okay. All right, the next part that's going to be in this setup is going to be this spool, and I've scrubbed it out. The spring, I'm going to show you, the spring does come out. You can just flip it up and off like this, like so. So that if you need to take it out to clean it, which I did, you can easily do so. Put the little tag end of it though in this little slot on the side and hook this back behind it like that. And then you've got to get it to clip back down like that. And that'll take care of it. Okay, make sure that this piece is bent over to where it will impact this ratchet right here. Okay, we're gonna put this back in like so. And there's your, that's what happens when you strip and drag. Okay, now we have this piece, and this piece goes in down like this. This piece goes in with the little fingers pointing up, and it's got a keyway on there that fits onto the shaft, and then goes the knob. There you go. You can adjust your drag by tightening it more or less. Now we're ready to come back over here and start working on the body. This is our gear. Man, that gear is really pretty. That's a good looking gear. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a close up of that. Look at how nice that gear is. There's the ratchet on the back for the anti-reverse. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit of grease back here for the anti-reverse, but not a lot. It doesn't need a lot of grease. You can put a lot back there if you want to silence your anti-reverse a bit, if it's too loud. But aside from that, there's no need for a lot of grease back here. But you do, a lot of people won't grease it at all, and I really feel that it needs some grease because otherwise it wears the tip down. Oops, let's go ahead and spring back out now. Otherwise, it wears the tip down on this anti-reverse cog right here. So we're going to flip the lever to move that anti-reverse cog back out of the way. We're going to put some oil in here for that anti-reverse. And then we're going to slide the main gear in once we put some oil on the shaft. And it's already got some grease on the shaft, so two of them together ought to do a really fine job there. Okay, that goes in like so. It's an optical illusion of the center made it appear that this was bent, but it's not. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put the handle on so that it doesn't pop back out on us. And we're not going to try to tighten it down all the way. We just want to snug it up to keep that gear in place. With that done, we're ready to put this part back on. And this is a small rotating surface, so I'm going to go ahead and use grease on it. I usually oil my rotating surfaces, but this one isn't really very big, so I'm going to go ahead and grease it instead. Now we've got this collar. Now this collar has got to go in here with the hole to the top side up here. Okay, and looks like I could have done a little bit better job of cleaning out the teeth on this pinion gear. All right, let's go ahead and put some grease in it. And we're gonna go ahead and slide this in, but now when we slide it in, we have to line this hole up with this hole over here. So this goes in like this, like that. And I tell you what, let's put a little bit of oil around the outside of this bushing. Grease tends to coagulate, so I don't want to put grease on it. So I'm going to use oil, just enough to make it easy to slide in and out, like that. And then it's time to open up our kit over here and get out our two pieces that we had stashed. Our two little bitty pieces. I'm gonna leave that one in for now. We'll just take out the biggest of the two. which is going to be this keyway here, or pin, locking pin. And this locking pin goes right here. And when it goes in all the way, it should lock that in. There you go. Pinion gear's locked in place. Okay. With that done, we can come back now and we can put some grease on this main gear. Now it's just picked up a little bit from the pinion, but that's not adequate lubrication for this. Okay. So we're gonna try to give it a little more. Like so. All right. Okay, next piece to go in, it's gonna be this little gear here. And this one needs some grease on this side over here, or it's gonna ride against the main gear. I'll set that in like this. And then that square block is gonna be riding inside the crosswind block. Before we get to that point though, we've got to reinstall this piece. And it's going to sit down like so. We got to line the gear teeth up so that they all fit together like that. So as this rotates, see how the action of that inner gear? Okay, that's how that works. And we're going to go ahead and grease that good, as it did not have grease coming in. This one's going to get quite a bit of grease because it's going to squish out of there and run up into the crosswind block. At this point in my editing, I realized that this thing was a total wreck and it was jumbled up and didn't make any sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to reshoot this part of it again. I've gone back and taken it apart. Discounting the grease, everything is already previously greased. The gear in here is greased. See this block on this gear? That has to fit into this slot on the crosswind block. So we're going to slip that into place and make sure that that block goes into the crosswind block. Then we're going to come back with our axle shaft, which has already been oiled, and we're going to slide it in. See the flat spot on this? See that flat spot right here on the axle shaft? Well, that has to go facing down. If it's facing up, it's going to, the rounded side is going to catch back here on this bar, and it's going to bind it up and cause it not to work. So make sure you put the flat side down, slide it into the crosswind block, get it into this block back here, like so. Line the holes up here. Let's go ahead and blow that up a little bit so you can see it a little better. Right there. Okay, we're lining up those holes in there with the crosswind block, and then we're going to slide this pin in like that. All right, that's got us to there. I think we are ready to put the side case on, and we are. Okay, interesting point here. This has got to go in at the front first before you tighten the screw down, or else it's going to catch and bind. Like that. That doesn't sound good. Oh yeah, that's anti-reverse. Wow. You couldn't hear it before. It was almost silent before. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to come back, and it's time to get this last little piece out. Let's go ahead and wind this around on the pinion until that hole is up. facing up like that. Okay. Then we're going to take out this last little pin. Out of the bag. And I'm going to sit it on my needle nose pliers like this. And we are going to set it into the hole like that. Then we're going to line up the keyway on this. You've already seen that, so we can bring back out a little bit. We're going to line up that pin with this keyway on the rotor, slide it together, and that's what locks those two together. Then we're going to put this washer back on, or not washer, nut, the one that's got the odd slot in it for the nickel or quarter, whatever it would be, and tighten it down. That's good. Okay, we're going to put on the spool, and I hate winding with this hand. All right, we're going to flip our bail. Our bail trips. If you're in the right configuration, there you go. If you stop in the wrong position, it will not, because it will be on the trip mode. We've got our drag. We can tighten that down. And got our anti-reverse. There you have the Mitchell 307. I will be doing another video on the 306. I've got one sitting over here in a bag that's got to be done. So I'll be doing that one as well. And for now, hopefully you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Tell me what you didn't like about my video. And I'm sure that somebody's going to have some disagreements with something I did there. If you would like to see further videos like this, please subscribe. For now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, signing out.